Thank you for joining us tonight for another episode of The Hidden History of Doty Island. This episode will be on Samuel A. Cook and the S.A. Cook Armory. I'm Jane Lang, the director of the Neenah Historical Society, and we're very pleased to be presenting this collaborative program along with the help of the Menasha Historical Society. We work together to put these programs together to help you understand the hidden history, some of the stories you may not remember or understand about our amazing Doty Island. So tonight's program, again, we're pleased to present as a collaborative effort between Neenah Historical Society and Menasha Historical Society. We're very pleased as well to have had the help of the Menasha Library in helping us put this program together. Many people were instrumental in doing the research for this program, particularly Tom Van Lieshout, who will be doing the bulk of the presentation, as well as Kathy Humsky, who will also be presenting as part of the program tonight. We're happy again to present this program as we understand the history of Doty Island. This is a 1938 aerial view of the island, and you can see Nicolet Blvd running right down the middle of it. The programs that we've done in the past, you can see highlighted here on the map, various spots indicating the different programs that we've done. We've covered the Whiting Boathouse, Picnic Island, Roberts Resort, the Memorial Building, the Winnebago Day School, Winnebago Players, the Driving Park, and the two tennis clubs, the Doty Tennis Club and the Racquet Club, also known as the Barn. Most recently, we did a presentation on the Gilbert Paper Company and the Bonta Corporation, and that was presented in February. You can see that now on our YouTube channel or the Menasha Historical Society's YouTube channel. Again, a great collaborative effort between our two organizations. And we also had the help of many family members who were familiar with the stories of the Armory. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom Van Lieshout to tell us about the hidden history of Doty Island and Samuel A. Cook.
Thank you, Jane. And I'd also like to welcome you to this video presentation. It's a pleasure to present the series, The Hidden History of Doty Island. Tonight, the main focus will be the Armory, located on the western portion of the island. Once we began researching this project, it became very evident that it was really one story wrapped up into three mini-stories. This evening, we'll present the story of the Armory in three sections: Samuel A. Cook, the S.A. Cook Armory, and the Armory Shops. Before I begin with the details, let me introduce myself and explain how I fit into the island stories. As Jane mentioned, I'm Tom Van Lieshout. I was born at the Clark, lived on Hewitt Street in Neenah and Nicolet Blvd in Menasha, graduated from St. Patrick's Grade School across the street from the Armory. All in all, I lived my first 25 years on the island. In this first section, we'll discuss the man that donated the land and this building to the two cities and several military organizations. You will find a lot of interesting details of this generous gentleman's life, who was a soldier, businessman, politician, and lived through many trials along the way. You'll see how these life experiences will develop a focus of security and unity. I'll refer to him as Sam, Samuel, and S.A. Cook throughout the presentation. Samuel Cook was born in Ontario, Canada, 100 miles north of Toronto on January 28, 1849, to William and Jane Cook. He was the ninth of 12 children. Both of his parents' families were Canadian farmers, specifically tree farmers in the timber industry. At age 7, Sam and the family will move to Wisconsin to farm trees on the eastern shores of Lake Winnebago, near Stockbridge in Calumet County. One of his older brothers will remain behind in Canada to continue working on the family farms. In 1856, William Cook, with a substantial down payment, will buy one large farm and bargain for 6 smaller farms. The bargain was similar to a land contract, where they work the land now and pay for them in the future. His plan was a farm for each of his 6 sons. During the Civil War, Sam and 3 of his brothers will join the Union Army. After the war, Sam will return to the family farm in Calumet County until 1872. With the move to Marathon County, he'll become a retail merchant and be appointed U.S. Postmaster. In 1873, he will marry Abby Keller. A son will be born a year later. Tragedy will strike, however, as the son will die in childbirth and Abby will pass away 5 days later. In 1876, he will marry again, this time to childhood friend Jenny Christie. In 2 years, their daughter Maud is born, and in 3, Sam will transfer the postmaster job to his brother Jacob and move to Neenah. Jenny and Sam will move to Neenah in 1881. Son Harry will be born later that same year. The next year, they'll purchase Dr. Nathaniel Robinson's house on Doty Island. The Grand White House, 138 Commercial Street, was located on the shore of the Fox River. This is the home pictured in the top photo. In 3 years, Sam, like his father before him, will be raising his children alone, as Jenny will pass away in September of 1885. She will be buried at Oak Hill Cemetery in Neenah. Sam Cook will not remarry, but will enjoy an amazing and rewarding life. He was able to watch his family grow up and attend both children's weddings. On April 4th, 1918, at age 69, Sam will pass away after battling a serious health issue for 8 months. S.A. Cook will receive a state funeral. The service will be held at the S.A. Cook Armory. After the ceremony, a horse-drawn hearse took him to Oak Hill Cemetery, where he was buried alongside Jenny. Son Harry will also be buried there in 1931. 2 interesting facts about the S.A. Cook house. First, the lower left photo is from the Twin City News Record, showing the 1965 demolition of their home. This house, along with 2 others leveled, were replaced with the YWCA, now known as the Neenah Menasha Y. Second, the picture in the lower middle is on the front porch steps in 1906. Sam was thrilled to host the reunion, as it was the first time in 45 years that these siblings had been together. Sam is in the back row, far right. The lower right article is a write-up from the Neenah Daily Times concerning this reunion. In 1860, 2 events will rock Sam's world and shape his life and personality. Let's explore those 2 events.
In August of 1860, the year that Sam will turn 11, the Cook-Calumet land loans will be due. It was planned that his mother Jane, brother Jacob, 19, and sister Elizabeth, 24, would go to their old home on a summer visit and bring money back to pay off the debt. She received $12,000 in gold and sewed the coins in her clothing for safekeeping. It was heavy, but they preferred gold over a bank draft. On their return trip, they boarded a ship called the Sun in Canada, traveling through the Great Lakes to Milwaukee. There, they planned to catch the rail to Fond du Lac and meet up with William, ready to take them home. Upon nearing Milwaukee, it was so cloudy and dark that they had to continue on to Chicago. The Cooks will transfer to the first boat leaving for Milwaukee, which is the steamer Lady Elgin, at 11 p.m. At 2 a.m., Lady Elgin was struck by the Augusta. Ramming bow first into the Lady Elgin's side, the Augusta sheared off one of her 2 30-foot paddle wheels, then punched through the hull. Within minutes, that early Saturday morning, near Waukegan, Illinois, the Lady Elgin broke into pieces. Jacob was rescued, floating on a fragment of wreckage 15 hours later near Racine. Sam's mother and sister were of the 300 lost at sea. Elizabeth's body was recovered 4 days later. No trace of his mother or the gold was ever found. On that day in 1860, Jane was 49 years old. She'd been married to William Cook for 28 years. She was the mother of 12 children, including 2 sets of twins. Her oldest child was 27, her youngest was just 8. To this day, this disaster remains the greatest loss of life on open water in the Great Lakes. Back home on the Calumet Cook farm, there was no money to meet the payments on the 6 farms. They were all lost. Some losses also were felt on the large farm. Also in 1860, people living in Wisconsin and the Union were beginning to be concerned by the rumblings of the oncoming Civil War. The Calumet farm boys were eager to bear arms and go off to war. 3 older brothers would join before Sam. In 1964, after several unsuccessful attempts to join the Army, finally at the age of 15, Sam would enlist as a private in Company A, 2nd Wisconsin Cavalry. Not out of an eagerness for adventure, but of an expression for his high degree of patriotism. S.A. joined the unit in Memphis, where they were engaged in scouting through April, when their mission changed to policing and protection. As the war ended, they began guarding citizens from the plundering of returning rebel soldiers and bushwhackers. In June, they were ordered to report to Louisiana and finally Texas, where they mustered out on November 15th. These last 5 years, dealing with the loss of family members, loss of property, and dreams, along with the Civil War experience, all before S.A. Cook turns 17, will affect his actions the rest of his life. Now you see how important it was for him to have that family reunion in 1906 at his home on Doty Island. It had been over 45 years that these siblings had been together as a unit. Taken from the Cook family records, this is what was said about the reunion of surviving siblings and spouses. S.A. Cook, at age 57, is in the upper row, far right.
Mr. Cook's spirit is young today. His heart is overflowing with happiness and his mind busy with carrying out the details of an event that will touch into vibrant action every chord of memory that has entered into the anthem of his useful and successful life, to find fuller volume in the heart response of those who will enjoy it all with him. For a long time, Mr. Cook has cherished the purpose of assembling every living member of the Cook family in a happy reunion at his home in this city. He has spent a great deal of the time in correspondence, striving to set a date convenient for all, and finally settled on August 2nd, 1906. His children, Miss Maud and Harry, and all the members of his household have shared with him in the happy preparations. At some place in the feasting, a dish will be served that will awaken thoughts of the Canadian home. 2 years ago, Mr. S.A. Cook, Miss Maud, and Harry visited the old homestead. As they looked over the place, they found a tree laden with apples from which they took a quantity and preserved them in fruit cans. The cans will be opened and the fruit distributed. The tree was planted by Loretta Cook, now Mrs. Elliott, when she was a little girl.
After the war, Sam will return to the farm until 1872. Over the next 4 decades, he'll establish an impressive list of business successes that are too extensive to cover in this presentation. We'll discuss a couple of the more significant adventures. Needless to say, he was a versatile, successful, and a businessman ahead of his time. Once in Neenah, he developed a partnership with Harry Sherry. Together, they bought 1,000 acres of pine land, growing and selling lumber to the expanding paper industry. in years later, he will purchase Sherry's share of Neenah paper. Then Sam, along with F.T. Russell, will be the sole owners of this long-lasting, profitable Neenah facility. S.A. will also strike up a business relationship with John Strange, owner of John Strange Paper in Menasha. Together, they'll purchase the bankrupt Paul Paper Mill. This was the best-known mill in the area at the time, making print and fine-grade super-calendared paper. Next, Sam will purchase a newsprint and fine paper mill in Indiana called Alexandria Paper. There, he is one of the first in the nation to adopt the concept of profit sharing. In articles concerning this sale, it was stated that S.A. Cook always looked at life as it should be, fair and equitable. In 1897, he filed articles of incorporation for the S.A. Cook Manufacturing Company in Menasha. Developing a partnership with his nephew, Watson Yule, and son Harry, this business will be a maker of paper and shingles. An early believer in being frugal and a recycler, they utilized the waste from the shingles as the primary energy source. It was evident that family, friendships, and strong work ethic were deeply ingrained in his personality. This, along with the lumber and paper experience, makes him a perfect fit for our area. Sam's passion to serve comes from his military service. Earlier, we mentioned the service as a U.S. postmaster. He will follow that up in Neenah, being elected mayor in 1889. He will serve as member of the Wisconsin State Assembly and be elected delegate to the Republican National Convention in Minneapolis. S.A. Cook was elected as a Republican in the 54th Congress of the United States. While in Congress, he helped author and push for approval of the anti-filled cheese bill, which President Grover Cleveland signed into law June 6, 1896. This bill provided a definition of cheese and imitation or filled cheese. The bill also imposed a tax upon and regulation of the manufacture, sale, importation, and exportation of filled cheese. He will decline re-election in Congress as he had aspirations of becoming a senator. He will be unsuccessful in 2 senatorial runs in 1897 and 1907. In between his Senate tries was a run for governor of Wisconsin. This story is very interesting as he was going to take on Wisconsin's current governor, the legendary and powerful Fighting Bob the Follett. What made this election interesting was the fact that they were from the same party. These articles will cover that 1904 run for governor. Governor La Follett's continued movement towards progressivism alienated many state Republican Party leaders. Therefore, La Follett's followers and the conservatives held separate conventions. This became the fight between the conservative stalwarts and the progressive half-breeds. Sam aligned himself with the stalwart faction of the party and was nominated to head up their ticket at the Opera House Convention. Cook, still believing that he was right, withdrew his name shortly before the election when the state Supreme Court upheld the Follett's control of the party and his right to the Republican label and ballot. S.A. Cook was also generous with his money. Sam fondly remembered the city of his youth, Chilton. They were collecting funds to provide the city with a free library. When he heard about this endeavor, he promptly forwarded his mite, as he termed it, with words of encouragement. In an article in the Chilton Times, it stated the following concerning that gift.
It is an undisputed fact that the sons of little Calumet have always remained loyal and true to her, a fact which was delightfully illustrated on Tuesday when the Times editor opened his mail and found a letter from our old friend, the Honorable S.A. Cook of Neenah, containing a check for $200, a gift to the Chilton Free Library Association.
In 1910, he showed his love for the National Guard. At Camp Douglas, S.A. Cook presented a new shooting trophy worth several $100s. At the time, it was said to be an act without precedence in the state, if not the country. The trophy would be a perennial one provided annually to the highest aggregate shooting score in the state. His generous heart continued on after his death. His estate, as noted in this 1925 article, was providing dinners for the needy. In his will, the armory and the occupants received a lump sum trust to be handled scarcely as a reserve fund for the care and upkeep of the building. Samuel's will further stated,
so that the use of the building and its accessories shall be free of cost to the GAR posts of Neenah and Menasha, including both relief corps and the ladies of the Grand Army, so that the use and benefit of their home in that building shall be absolutely free to them. It is my hope that the boys of Company I will see to it that this is done, as it was one of the principal parts of vital interest that caused me to construct the building, and a condition that the boys of Company I promised me that they would take pride in doing.
In 1907, Sam Cook's largest donation was this fantastic building, a gift to the National Guard and the cities of Neenah and Menasha. He had an incredible admiration for the National Guard and a resolute loyalty and devotion to his old comrades who wore the blue. He knew the value of having an organization ready to defend the flag. Being the mayor of Neenah, he always said that Neenah loved me and I loved Neenah. But one thing prevailed in the back of his mind. He saw that there was an indifferent attitude between the two cities. Sam saw what division did in the country during the Civil War. He did not want to see this division in our community. Sam wanted to develop something that could possibly unite us and cause a stronger community. Security and unity was a driving force in this wonderful gift. Both of these motives were ingrained in him: the need for someone to protect its citizens and the need for those citizens to be united. Now let's explore this grand donation in detail. In this section, we will cover the S.A. Cook Armory building. First discussing the dedication and features of this gift, then the major benefactors. Company I, Wisconsin National Guard, the GAR, which is the Grand Army of the Republic, the WRC, which is the Women's Relief Corps, and the local communities of Neenah and Menasha. And finally, how it outlived its usefulness. This armory will be a military training facility, not a supply facility, containing a large rifle range and drill floor. The construction of the armory, costing $25,000, was a culmination of an 11-year dream of Sam Cook's to construct a moderate-sized building as a memorial hall, a monument to those gone before us and of use to the living. He also wanted the structure to be erected on the actual borderline of Neenah and Menasha. It was located in the center of the dividing thoroughfare, Nicolet Blvd. This would fulfill his idea of developing something that could possibly unite us, causing a stronger community. The land chosen on the island was the former site of the Universalist Church of the Good Shepherd. On February 2nd, 1907, the S.A. Cook Armory was dedicated to Company I, 1st Infantry, Wisconsin National Guard, 2 military organizations, and the Twin Cities. Its first campfire was held on April 10th. The dedication was attended by the governor, a general, and adjutant general with an open invitation extended to all veterans and citizens. Over 2,000 were in attendance. No admission was charged. Opening remarks were from F.D. Cook, president of Menasha Woodenware, then a speech by Sam Cook and other dignitaries, followed by several musical numbers and a closing with a tour and refreshments. Lower right is a program from the dedication. The upper right is the official open invitation placed in the newspaper, personally written by Sam Cook. The following are the actual words of S.A. Cook at the dedication. Most of his speech was in the Appleton Post-Crescent.
Fellow citizens, ladies of the WRC, members of the GAR, and Company I, this being my duty, it becomes a pleasure for me to appear before you here this evening. The conditions which go with this deed are that the members of J.P. Shepherd and the H.J. Lewis Posts and the WRC of Neenah and Menasha and Company I shall make it their home. You, trustees, Henry H. Cook, J.M. Pleasance, and J.B. Schneller, this property is to be in your charge. The armory is to be used and shared equally by both cities. I mean it to be a monument in honor of those who have gone before us. The highest tribute we can pay the dead is to do something which will help the living. I decided to build an armory and endeavored to have it on the line between Neenah and Menasha. I meant it to be of general good to both cities, a place where there could be large mass meetings or state conventions. I believe in the words of one who was so dear to us in days gone by. The kind and generous treatment to a soldier while he is living is better than soft words or monuments and flowers after he is dead. Now, trustees, I deliver to you this property and the key to the building.
The Cook Armory was quite typical of armories built across the country in the early 20th century. They often featured twin turrets and looked similar to the castle-like still used on the branch insignia of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, upper left. These armories, usually located in downtowns or city centers, were used as community centers as well as headquarters of the local National Guard units. It was 2 stories high, with the basement extending under the entire structure. The exterior was 70 feet wide, 120 feet long. Stone and red pressed brick with a pinkish tint had been used in its construction, closely following a modern Gothic architectural design. It stood 4 square, the symbol of what Cook considered citizenship should be: solid, efficient, useful, and trained, devoted to service. The interior was finished in hardwood. Both electricity and gas were used in lighting. Telephones were also installed. The basement is occupied by a rifle range, 3 bowling alleys, baths, storeroom, and a quartermaster office. The first floor had a magnificent 67 by 87 foot drill floor and dance hall, with a spectacular balcony on 3 sides. Completing the main floor were captain's offices, a clubhouse, ladies' dressing room, smoking room, and steel lockers with wood gun racks. The unique feature of the heating system was the furnace blew the heat through a large grate in the middle of the drill floor. The second floor contained offices for the GAR and the WRC, with kitchen and dining area, a gallery surrounding the floor, looking over the drill and dance floor. Notice in the lower left picture, by design and Samuel's request, the center of the front door aligned with the dividing line between the 2 cities. Next, we'll cover the organizations that will benefit from the gift of the armory. Company I, a National Guard rifle company, was the primary benefactor, with its origin going back to the Civil War. Raised by Simeon Nelson of Menasha and Abner Smith of Neenah, during the months of August of 1862. They saw plenty of action from the battles in Kentucky to the Battle of Chickamauga in Tennessee. One local member of Company I to fight in the Civil War was future mayor of Neenah, Lieutenant Charles B. Clark. You will come to know him as the Clark in Kimberly-Clark. At the turn of the century, Sam Cooke was deeply involved with the movement to keep the formations of local military units. He helped implement a training manual and provided funds for meetings and activities. The lower left photo is a group of men that were all privates in the Oshkosh Company prior to mustering in the Neenah's Company I in February of 1901. They used to hold drill meetings in an old rink before the armory was built. The photo in the upper right is Company I in 1915. This group chased Pancho Villa in Mexico after border incursions in Texas. If you look at the insert on the top of the armory, the words Armory Company I was inscribed. This unit was special to S.A. Cooke. He gave them the facility and gave the men a lot of responsibility to keep it for future use. The two world wars saw the Neenah and Menasha Company I. They will become affiliated with the 32nd Division, 127th Infantry Regiment. They went to war and performed at a level that would have made a private S.A. Cooke proud. In World War I, Company I became a unit of the famed Red Arrow Division. Its insignia is inserted in the top center right. French forces referred to the 127th as the Terribles because of its excellent combat successes against the German army. Company I was decorated by General John Pershing in France in 1918 for being the first Allied unit to break up the famed Hindenburg Line as it pierced right into its midsection. In August 1940, First Sergeant Elmer Burr and the rest of Company I left the armory being mustered into World War II and sent to the Pacific Theater's New Guinea campaign. On December 24, 1942, during the Battle of Bunagana, Burr threw himself on a grenade, absorbing the explosion, protecting his commanding officer and a group of Wisconsin soldiers. He will later be awarded the Medal of Honor for this selfless act. He is one of two Medal of Honor recipients memorialized in Menasha's Isle of Valor. Another Menasha sergeant, Sergeant Grant, already awarded a Purple Heart with oak leaf clusters, will receive the Silver Star for advancing openly against the enemy in order to draw fire and expose the enemy positions. The 32nd was engaged in 407 consecutive days of combat against the Japanese in the Pacific Theater, and in doing so, suffered a high 47% casualty rate. Company I will be honored by General Douglas MacArthur at the close of the war in the South Pacific. The decades of the 60s were a scary time for our nation. The National Guard was being called into service to protect itself from its own citizens. In 1967, Company I was sent down to Milwaukee to assist in riot control. One guardsman put it, "It wasn't as bad as it could have been. We got called up early. It could have been much worse." Another soldier, in the center of the riot, with sniper fire going on, said it was a bit tense.
The next group to benefit from Sam's gift were two organizations. First, the GAR. The Grand Army of the Republic, founded in 1866, was the largest veterans organization in the country after the Civil War. It was a fraternal organization. Members were veterans of the Union Army, U.S. Navy, and Marines. The group supported voting rights for Black veterans and lobbied the U.S. Congress to establish veterans' pensions. The GAR left an enduring memorial to the people of Wisconsin in the establishment of the Grand Army Home located at King. In 1887, they passed a resolution urging the founding of a home for destitute veterans, their wives, and widows. The upper left photo is a GAR parade on North Commercial Street. The parade was part of the 1913 convention in Neenah, Menasha, held at the Armory. Sam Cook was commander of the Wisconsin Department of the GAR in 1915 and 16. The lower right picture is a postcard of several Civil War veterans wearing Grand Army of the Republic badges. Sam Cook is on the left. Sam had great respect for the organization, so he made sure they had office space. The other organization to benefit was the WRC. The Women's Relief Corps is the official women's auxiliary to the Grand Army of the Republic. The WRC is one of the many women's organizations that were founded after the Civil War. Early on in the creation of the WRC, Memorial Day was used to teach patriotism and nationalism to children of all ages. The members of the Women's Relief Corps, with the assistance of children, would make floral wreaths and place them alongside American flags at the graves of Union veterans and nurses who died during and since the war. Sam Cook wanted to provide the WRC space in the Armory for the local chapter to allow them to perform their civic duties. This chapter worked hand in hand with the GAR to promote events and run service balls and ceremonies.
Finally, it was a gift to the communities of Neenah and Menasha, and boy did they use it. The Armory was used for various sporting activities by individuals and organizations alike. Basketball, boxing, wrestling, proms, dances, and also roller skating. Musical programs, political speeches, and rallies also were performed at the facility. The Emergency Society would sponsor rummage sales every Saturday morning in the fall. The Neenah Eagles would arrange yearly Armory Christmas events, including Santa with an evening event put on by the members' children. In the early 30s, the Twin Cities Chorale Group, Friends of Music, would hold an annual concert. In the 1934 program was Longfellow's Hiawatha's Wedding Feast. The Armory provided the best basketball court in the area, being the scene of the WIAA district high school tournaments in the 20s and the 30s. For decades, this building was filled with activities and memories. Here are some of the comments made lately on social media. We'll call them voices from the past. Now you can see how powerful this gift was to this area. These memories are over 50 years old. We were able to locate newspaper articles to back up many of their memories.
On Sundays, they opened it up, and we could roller skate all afternoon on the hardwood floors. I still remember the music. I remember going to boxing matches there with my dad. We also saw the original Globetrotters play at the Armory. We used to line up there with the Girl Scouts for the Memorial Day parade. My dad was the first sergeant. We had full run of the place. The war room, the offices, storage of GI gear in the basement, and the main floor had basketball hoops. In 1940, St. Patrick's graduate remembers, before St. Pat's built a gym, we would play our basketball games at the Armory. I remember the wrestling matches. Saw a guy wrestle a bear once. Blazer Brothers, Haystack Calhoun, and Mean Mountain Bean. My parents went to dances there. They belonged to a dance club named the Merrymakers. That's where they held their dance parties. My mom wore beautiful dresses to those parties. I took baton, tap, and acrobatics lessons there as a kid. Lots of good memories. I loved the wooden floors and the mezzanine inside the building. I remember my dad teaching me shooting there. To this day, I can still smell the scent of spent shells. I remember being taken on a class trip, walking over from Roosevelt School, to see and hear Earl Warren, who was running for the Republican nomination for president. We had Rifle Club every Wednesday night. Twin City Rod and Gun Club sponsored it. 22s only.
One of the more memorable moments in the Armory history came on February 11th, 1935. 2 years before her disappearance, Amelia Earhart arrived on Doty Island at the Chicago Northwestern train station. Helen Kimberly Stewart, Neenah's first alderwoman and chairperson of the Wisconsin League of Women's Voters, invited Earhart to give a speech detailing her adventures in flight. During her stay, which lasted less than 24 hours, Earhart lectured at the S.A. Cook Armory, greeted youngsters, and signed autographs. That afternoon, a group of young Neenah girls were invited to join Earhart for tea at Stewart's home. One of the guests, Kate Gilbert, recalls in her diary the only way a 13-year-old could: school, played around, went to hear Amelia Earhart. Years later, with more time to reflect, Kate recalls, Amelia was a lively woman, full of spunk and energy, way ahead of her time, and not afraid of anything. The photograph on the left is Amelia as she sat in Helen's living room on East Wisconsin Avenue. This rare photograph of Amelia wearing a dress. By the mid-50s, many of the original armories across the nation became less functional, and the new Eisenhower-era armories were built to replace them. Appleton was building a new state-of-the-art facility and consolidating units. In 1968, Company I vacated the proud 60-year-old S.A. Cook Armory and moved to Appleton. The property will now be owned by the state of Wisconsin and up for sale. For more than a year, the state and the cities worked to develop the best path forward. The city of Neenah, having the right of first refusal, was seriously considering it, but it declined on a 5-5 vote as it did not want to get into the real estate business. One veterans organization, the Disabled American Veterans, expressed interest in using part of the building for office space. Another option floating around was a joint effort between Neenah and Menasha to house both city halls in the Armory. With all options falling through the cracks, the Wisconsin Department of Military Affairs opened up a sealed bid process for the purchase of the Armory in 1970. The bids would be opened April 1st and then go to Governor Knowles for the final to sell. On April 3rd, Warren Carlson, along with Frank Priest and Bob Meyer, win the bid over 5 other offers. The sale will be delayed until April 13th, when Colonel Melvin Wang returns from leave. The 3 are local businessmen. Warren, along with his wife Grace, owned Carlson's Closet, a clothing store in downtown Neenah. Frank Priest, owner of Card and Camera, also downtown Neenah, and R.J. Bob Meyer was in real estate. When asked about their intentions, Carlson stated, "The plans for future use have not been finalized at this time. We'll discuss their business venture in the next section." One note of interest is the second highest bidder was submitted by Remick Transfer. We'll hear about Remick Transfer again later in this story. For almost 2 years, Neenah Menasha, along with the state of Wisconsin, tried in vain to figure out what to do with the Armory. In this section, we'll discuss the new journey for this turn-of-the-century building, and we'll learn about the details of the new business venture, the new owners, Warren Carlson and Frank Priest, the shops by floor level, and memories of shop owners and customers alike. As before, the Armory will outlive its usefulness. You'll learn about the option and final resolution. In 1969, the Carlson family, on a vacation in the San Francisco Bay Area, stopped at a retail shopping center. This was an older building repurposed into a retail center. with various retail shops. From that moment on, the Carlsons had their idea how to develop the Armory Shops. They will turn the facility into a mini mall with small, boutique-type shopping. It will be known as the first mini mall in the state. Choosing a medieval theme, shops will range from 200 to 2,000 square feet. Parking was made available for 50 cars. The exterior was developed to replicate a medieval English Tudor hamlet. The main floor will resemble the streets of shops right out of Shakespeare's England, surrounding a common area. The entrance of the facility will set the image by replacing the double-hung windows with medieval themed emblems. A drawbridge will be added with a moat filled with water. The moat was used sparingly as water would seep into the basement. Opening day on April 25th, 1970, 5,000 customers were invited to this unique shopping experience by crossing the drawbridge as it was being let down, and then past the castle turret. This is what the Post Crescent had to say about the unusual shopping experience.
Shades of merry old England, and as British as Yorkshire pudding. One can almost see the knights of King Arthur's Round Table raising their tankards of ale in a toast upon entering the old S.A. Cook Armory, which is now undergoing a prodigious remodeling job. One will eventually enter the complex by means of a drawbridge suspended by heavy chains over a moat, to be confronted by a 2-story turreted tower at the far end of the lane of shops. The interior motif is designed to conform with the castle fortress design of the exterior. Ascending the 2 spiral staircases, one may view the nostalgic scene below from parapets encircling the upper floor where more intriguing shops are located. A restaurant will be located on the lower level with accommodations for some 40 people. Here again, quaint little shops will be found.
Many of the businesses were inspired by the Armory's castle-like exterior and offered a play on the medieval themes. A shop featuring candles from around the world was called Tower of Torches. You could find menswear in King's trappings. Personalized stationery and greeting cards were available in Ye Old Paper Shop, and shoes could be purchased at the Cobbler Shop. If the shop's name didn't sport the medieval touch, several logos did, such as Armory Interiors and the Ski Inn. The shop owners were a close-knit group, fondly recalling the fun of Christmas parties that were held in the Roundtable restaurant. Summer sidewalk sales, lower left, were a popular device to drive sales. The merchants would set up tables and lawn chairs under a big tree for shade. The common area served as a public space, featuring events like the art exhibit noted in the lower right. More voices from the past will be shared throughout the rest of this presentation. Before we detail the shops, let us provide a little background of the new owners. It'll give you a little context on how the new mini mall came to be. First, the Carlsons. Warren and his wife Grace had 3 children. Warren was an Army veteran of the Korean conflict and a member of the Neenah Rotary Club. He was also a board of directors on the Marine National Bank. Most importantly, he was president of Neenah's Chamber of Commerce and Downtown Business Association, with a strong focus of downtown redevelopment. Warren would say, "The small retailer is the backbone of the community." He felt the smaller retailer was too often taken for granted over the giant retail stores. Frank Priest, owner of a Card and Camera, was also on the redevelopment committee and the Neenah Chamber of Commerce. He was on Marine Bank Board with Warren. Warren and Frank also had a business venture together to buy the old City Hall. All in all, these men were retail business owners, prominent organizers in the Neenah redevelopment, and ready to take on a new adventure. Grace and Warren Carlson, upper right, Both had backgrounds in retail. They actually met while working at H.C. Prangy's in Green Bay. In the mid-60s, they established Carlson's Closet on Wisconsin Avenue in Neenah. For 3 years, they ran a very successful women's clothing shop that featured classic women's wear such as the beautiful Pendleton woolen line. The shop's original Neenah location is now the site of Doubletree's hotel parking lot. In 1967, the Valley Inn Hotel, built in 1915 and pictured in the center, was torn down. The new hotel, the city, and Neenah's downtown redevelopment program needed space for the parking lot. Thus, Carlson's building fell to the wrecking ball. The timing of the Armory sale allowed the Carlsons to move Carlson's Closet to the new facility. The new location proved to be a hit for their customers. Here are some of their fond memories.
My mother would shop at Carlson's Closet, and as a small child, this place, the Armory, was simply fascinating. Mary D. Mulligan recounts that getting a dress from Carlson's Closet was almost like getting a dress from Bonwit Tellers in Chicago on Thanksgiving weekend. At Mary's wedding in 1983, bottom right, a number of the guests were wearing dresses from the shop's Lance Originals line.
The centerpiece of the operation would be the restaurant, the Roundtable, a great place to solidify the medieval theme and an area for customers to meet and enjoy a meal while shopping. The Roundtable's wooden tables and chairs were custom built by Armory owners. Some of the tables were crafted from old wooden doors, and old church pews were used for bench seating, reinforcing the medieval theme. Here's what they wrote in the Twin City News Record about the decor and service of the Roundtable.
The decor features brick red walls with complementary carpeting, stained glass windows, and charcoal gray wrought iron lighting fixtures trimmed with amber crystal drops. The furniture consists of trestle tables and monk's chairs. The Roundtable will be able to cater to a luncheon clientele of some 50 persons from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Saturday. The menu will feature a hot dish, which will be changed daily, homemade soups, salads, hot and cold sandwiches, and homemade desserts. Another interesting decorative touch is the enamelware service in red, orange, green, and gold, decorated with borders in a Tudor motif. The soups will be served from individual enameled pots at the tables by waitresses dressed in medieval costumes consisting of long, full skirts topped by peasant blouses.
This is the actual menu from the Roundtable. 50 years after it closed, diners are still recalling their favorite Roundtable dish. Here are a few of those mouth-watering memories.
Great restaurant serving Scandinavian open-face sandwiches. I ordered Reuben's without sauerkraut. Kim Carney's favorite item on the menu was its great soup. Lunch at the Roundtable often followed a visit to Needlepoint Posh or a salon appointment at Charles Place. The Roundtable was in the basement. Loved their hot roast beef open-face sandwiches on dark rye bread with grilled onions and sour cream. Margaret Ann Cummings recalls fun lunches with my mom, eating their delicious French dip sandwiches. Polly Nevitt remembers, I had the best memory of lunch with my godmother. After lunch, she spoiled me with some shopping.
Unfortunately, only 6 years after the start of the new venture, in 1976, Warren was killed in a plane crash. He was the pilot of the plane and the only passenger. He was on his way to pick up his 2 sons in Neenah. Grace and Frank quickly picked up the pieces. Warren's daughter, Betsy, remembers being away at college. I took some time off and helped out at the Roundtable. Mom and Frank kept things operating, and after several months, things began to settle down. It was a tribute to the shop owners that pulled together to keep things moving forward. Now let's explore some of the unique shops and the memories from their customers.
Located on the second floor, called the Turrets, was Charles Place and the Ski Inn. Charles Place, a hair salon offering complete beauty service, including hair coloring, was a popular spot for the local ladies. Longtime Charles Place customer, Suzanne O'Regan, remembers her first trip in 1977. I had brought my 3 little girls with me. They were a little wild at that age, so they were running up and down the halls outside the shop. Poor Charles was not real thrilled. Fortunately, Nancy Gilbert, a favorite client of Charles, interceded on my behalf by saying, "Oh, Charles, those girls are charming and so well dressed." I continued to be a client of Charles for a few more years, but never brought my girls to another appointment. The Ski Inn, also located on the Armory's second floor, was run by the Packmeyers, who lived on Doty Island and also ran the pro shop at Indian Head Ski Hill. The shop sold high-quality ski gear and apparel and offered ski repair services in very tight quarters. Every space was utilized. Kathleen Mengel, one of Ski Inn's dedicated customers, remembers, "The first year my husband and I were married, we bought skis as our Christmas gifts to each other. There are many great memories from all the ski trips in that gear. Later, we bought cross-country skis from them." Morgan Hogarty remembers shopping there with her father before the family's first ski trip to Powderhorn. "My dad took us there in December of '78 and bought our entire family new skis, boots, and poles. My sisters and I got matching ski jackets, snow pants, and hats in a vivid orange. See the pictures on the right? My dad chose that color so he could easily spot us on the hills." Lastly, Steve Dorenzo recounts, "I worked at the Ski Inn for Al and Sue. Wonderful shop and great proprietors. They paid me $1.74 an hour, and I was worth half of that." In addition to the Roundtable, the lower level, called the Bazaar, featured a variety of specialty shops, including Armory Interiors, Carlson's Pendleton Place, and the Art Nook. For area residents with bare walls or empty tabletops, a trip to the Art Nook was a must. The shop carried a large selection of paintings by established American and European artists. A room full of crafts brought delight to all ages. This ad for Carlson's Pendleton Place features a classic example of Pendleton's country clothes. The store was a one-stop shop, as it also features elegant accessories like handbags by Aigner and boots by Battani. As the ad on the right demonstrates, Armory Interiors offered interior design services, its spacious showroom, and on-staff designers helped customers create spaces with an inviting and traditional appeal. The Armory's main floor, called the Marketplace, was home to several shops, including Carlson's Closet, the Cobbler's Shop, and the Looking Glass. As you can see from the photo on the right, the Looking Glass boutique had an especially charming facade. Inside, the shop sold ladies' clothing for all occasions, from lingerie to daytime dress to special events. The left-hand photo pictures a style popular with Looking Glass customers. This sophisticated suede skirt, paired with a merino Italian wool turtleneck, sold for $60. The Looking Glass also carried giftware. The Armory had offered a charming and unique blend of shopping experiences. For the shopper who craved the exotic, the Import Bazaar, as you can see from their ad on the right, promised the whole world in your hands. Import Bazaar shoppers could browse handcrafted imported goods like jewelry, rugs, clothing, and tapestries. For those shoppers with more traditional tastes, Needlepoint Posh, whose advertisement is pictured on the left, sold custom-made needlepoint patterns and yarn and offered lessons to a devoted clientele. Debbie Nolan, Needlepoint Posh's owner, recalls a special pattern she developed to help save Neenah's iconic clock tower. "We sold doorstop sets designed and painted in our shop with coordinating yarn for $20. The money went to the Clock Tower Fund. The doorstops are shown on the bottom left. Young visitors to the Armory were always anxious to stop at Ye Olde Paper Shop. The shop carried a large line of greeting cards and personalized stationery, but the mouth-watering candy displays and array of small gifts were the biggest appeal for the young set. One customer still remembers when she, as a kid, said, "I bought a Holly Hobby figurine for my mom for Christmas." On the right is Sukasa. Inspired by television shows like The Galloping Gourmet and Julia Child, Sukasa's customers could purchase coveted cookware like Le Creuset. If you had a secret yen for cooking, cookbooks from plain to fancy, foreign and domestic, were available. Utensils from France, wood, copper, and glass from Mexico could help make your kitchen the heart of your home. The knight's trapping on the left had several lines of distinctive men's clothing, including Asher, Puritan, Pendleton, and Izod. On the right, the Tower of Torches will shed light on the matter. Their ad says it best. "We no longer rely on candles to light the darkness, but we can rely on candles to add a little grace, a little serenity, or even a bit of whimsy to this world. Rely on the Tower of Torch candles to perfume the air gently or create a hint of romance. We have all shapes, sizes, and scents." They also offered beautiful floral arrangements.
Again, things would be changing for the Armory. As owner Grace Martin said, "We don't have enough tenants to make it run. Most of the stores that have leased space in the building have relocated elsewhere, many to downtown. This, along with needed roof repair, building code updates, and other long-term costs, made it impossible to continue." Co-owner Frank Priest added, "The opening of the Valley Fair and Fox River Malls significantly increased competition for our shops. So in 1985, they decided to close the Armory Shops and put the property up for sale. Over the next 2 years, it'll be used as a furniture warehouse. Nobody wanted to lose this building. 2 years of trying to sell the property provided no significant leads. Russ Miller, a local businessman, considered a proposal to turn it into a military museum. Other options were daycare center, doctor's office, or a possible apartment complex, but the cost of renovation was too high. There was also a move to have the property listed on the Neenah Registry of Historical Places, but they tend to stay away from vacant buildings. The Land Commission could justify no longer delaying the demolition because no buyer was willing to preserve it. The cities of Neenah and Menasha issued a joint statement that the property would be sold to Remick Transfer. They would be building a 26,000 square foot warehouse, connecting it to their existing office and warehouse. The Remick facilities remain on the site today. The building dedicated in 1907 by S.A. Cook would fall to the demolition crew in 1987. Security and unity was S.A. Cook's vision for this gift. Over its 80-year existence, the Armory has delivered both. Company I provided the community and the nation's security. They performed magnificent in battle. It would have made Sam proud. It brought unity to the citizens of Neenah and Menasha as they were able to jointly use the gift for both enjoyment and commerce. Even though the Armory was torn down, a part of it lives on. Think about all those memories discussed here today, and the ones that are in the hearts of countless others. Remember the wooden tables and chairs that were custom built by the owners? After the business was sold, these pieces were purchased by the owners of Club Tavern in Menasha. For For several years, their customers would sit on these chairs and eat off the tables. Bits and pieces of this historical building remain to this day. Pictured is a brick from the building kept by the Carlson family for nostalgia. You can see the distinct pinkish red tone of the brick. In the lower right, they also have a banner that hung on the walls of the Armory shop. If you dine in or have a drink at the Club Tavern, you will see light fixtures that were used in the Armory shops. Finally, the S.A. Cook sign that was on the top of the building is placed in a park named in his honor. Cook Park, formerly White Park, is located between River Street and North Water Street in Neenah. When you're walking or biking on the Friendship Trail, stop and check out the park and the sign. We went through a lot of history today. S.A. Cook's life, the gift to the city, and its transformation. The memories of the Armory provided the citizens and the organizations it supported will live on forever. It was a pleasure presenting this program this evening. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.